But anyway, long story short, so we get on the set. And, you know, these guys are running around and they're treating everybody like they're gang members. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, taking like little advantages and stuff. And like we did a scene in the alleyway, and I didn't tell you about this, but the first thing that happened to me in that alleyway when I was on my knees was Robert Duvall slapped me in the face with a notebook, like hard enough to put like a welt on my cheek. So that was the first thing that happened. I was handcuffed. And we doing the scene, and I'm looking at him, and I'm giving him attitude, and he was like, wait a minute. Pow! And just slapped me across the face with this book. And I looked at him, and I remember going, oh, man, it's like that. And I'm looking around, and I'm wondering if anybody's going to do anything about it, and nobody said anything. So then later on in the day, Sean Penn and I, you know, we're doing this scene where, you know, he has to chase me down this alleyway. And, you know, I think he got upset or something because he wanted it all to be real. But what ended up happening was, you know, he kind of, you know, felt like he wanted to do some extra shit, and he ended up slamming my face down on the car. And you know, in the scene, I was wearing these shades, and at one point, you know, he slammed it, and I took it with my elbows, and then when I relaxed, he slammed my head back down into the car, and he busted my shades, knocked them apart, you know, gave me this whole, like, you know, reason to kill him. So then at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? This has gone too far. So I stopped, and I was like, yo, man, you know what? Just so you know, I'm not a gang member, and I'm not really 17. I'm 25 years old. I'm a grown-ass man, you know, and if you slam my head down on this car again, dude, I'm fucking you up. And all them police officers, actually I called them cops. I said, all them cops you hanging out with to get into character, and all these producers sitting around here who, you know, don't seem to care that you over here trying to fuck me up, they ain't gonna get to you fast enough before I kick your ass. So, you know, you either stop doing this shit now, or me and you gonna be in this dirt. Well, I said, there's always the last scene in the movie where me and you get in a fight in the kitchen. Just remember that shit. Go read it, because I hit you in the face with a frying pan in that scene. So don't forget that you slammed my head down on this car in this scene, because when we get to that scene, I'm fucking you up. And he's like, I don't feel pain. So then later on in the movie, every time we passed each other, I was like, dude, I'm gonna get you. And I don't feel pain, and blah, 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 blah. And when we start doing the scene, come to find out that he talked to the producers and the writers and shit, and they cut the frying pan out the scene, right? So I wasn't hitting him with the frying pan. I only got to knock the gun out his hand with the frying pan. So by that point, you know, I had already forgot about the fact that the fucker had slammed my face down on the car. I wasn't really caring anymore, you know, but everybody had noticed the little, you know, beef between us on the set. So the choreographer, the stunt choreographer, comes over to me and he goes, Glenn, this is what we gonna do. You know, in the scene where y'all doing a little thing, right? And you swing the left and the right, and then he take the right and the left, whatever. He says, I don't want you to do that. He says, when you go back to it, I want you to throw the left first and then throw the right afterward. You know, so I'm like, okay, cool. Well, make sure you tell him what we're doing. So what happens is we're in the scene, and what does he do? Yeah. He throws a right, and I block it. Then I throw a right and a left, and then the coordinator changes it to a left and a right. So when we get in the scene, you know, I'm figuring, because we've done it like 3 or 4 times. So I'm figuring, okay, I know he told Sean or whatever. You know what I mean? So we get in the scene, right, and we get to that point of like action. So we come off this thing, boom, we hit the ground, we get up, he throws, I block, and instead of throwing the right, I throw the left, and instead of him snapping his head for the right hand, he snapped it for the left. Instead of snapping for a right hand punch, which he snaps his head to his right, I'm throwing a left, and he snapped his head to his right like I was throwing a right. So I hit him between the eyes, bam, and split his glasses, knocked him across the room, put a little cut on his nose, right? His knees buckled a little bit. But I have to say this about Sean Penn. He didn't stop. And he didn't, like, you know, he just took it. Boom, I hit him and he took it. And we went through the thing and dove over the countertop, and the whole scene in the kitchen where I grabbed him around the throat and I started choking him and everything, you know, and we did that whole scene. And then they cut, you know, and I'm looking at him and he's looking at me, and I'm thinking, and he was like, no, man, it's okay. Don't worry about it, right? Yeah, whatever about it. So they kind of gave him a little thing right here, you know, cleaned him up a little bit because he had a little cut right here. I think it was from the glasses. And, but if you ever watch the movie, there's something that you need to see, because what happened was he went back in before we finished the last stunt, and he told Robert Duvall to get me. And I didn't know it, right? So he tells Robert Duvall to get me. And so in the scene, there's a scene in the scene at the last bit, I'm choking him. So I got him, I'm choking him. Robert Duvall runs up and starts choking me, right? And he's choking me from the front. And I'll never forget this, man. He choked me to the point where I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything. And I just remember him kind of lifting, because he was choking me up this way. Like he was facing me, I was facing him, and he had me around the neck, and he's choking me up like that. And he had my windpipe. And I remember him choking me, and I remember just saying to myself, relax, relax, relax. So he choked, and I relaxed. He choked, and I relaxed. And I remember, you know, because he couldn't hold it that long. I remember that. And I just remember like letting my neck go and letting everything relax. And he got all the way up in there and he was choking me. And then he had to let me go because Sean Penn said something like, let me see your face. And he hits me. Boom, right? But before he hit me, there's a moment in the movie where when Robert Duvall's choking me, he felt me relax and he knew he wasn't hurting me. So he knees me in the nuts. And that wasn't in the movie. It wasn't in the choreography or anything. He just kneed me in the nuts, like as hard as he could. But the thing is, one of the guys that was working on the film, rest in peace, the stunt guy, but I remember he walked up to me when we got ready to go film, and he said, here, take this. And I said, what? And he gave me a cup. I said, what's that for? There ain't no growing shots. And he said, just put it on, man. I was like, okay. So I went in the bathroom and I stuck this cup down in my pants. And then, like 10 minutes later, he came back with an elbow pad, like you know, the kind you put on your elbow with the pad and the little thing. And he goes, put this between your nuts and the cup, you know, and you know, wrap the cup up in this and make sure the pad is between your nuts and the cup. And I remember going, oh, okay, man, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, what the hell, right? But when you see that movie, you'll see, because when it's a stunt, everything happens at once. Like if it's a stunt, if somebody knees you, everything goes ooh at the same time, right? But if you watch the film, watch it. He knees me and it's like, Buh! And like that 10th of a second reaction time goes by and then I go, oh! It's like, oh God! Because he kneed me in the balls so hard. I just remember going, God, that's why he gave me that cup. Yeah, there was some stuff going on that set, man. That was like, but then, for whatever reason, after all that happened, we filmed that movie, and me and Sean Penn became like really good friends. But anyway, so yeah, that's my color story, just so you know.